Right, it's December the 9th, 2015, and there's a phenomenon I want to talk about, but I'm not quite sure what to call it. It's to do with three major agencies of government which deal with the public on a regular basis about money. So we've got HMRC, this is in the United Kingdom. So we get HMRC, Her Majesty's Revenues and Customs, and they deal now with the controversial thing called tax credits, which a lot of people are embroiled in at the minute. Another one are the council tax departments in the country. So they're under the auspices of the council and have recently been given quite a lot of autonomy as regards discounts and so on, administering discounts. There's a lot less available now, by the way of discounts. And empty properties have started to be charged, perhaps even more than 100% charged, because they don't want empty properties. They've realised what they need to do is to have them available for people to live in. So they charge people who are holding properties empty more than they charge if someone was actually living in them. So that's council tax departments. Then we've got the Student Loans Company Limited. They're based up in Glasgow, St Vincent Street or something, and they have something in common, these organisations, which is essentially they've developed a new standard operating procedure, a modus operandi, a mode of operation whereby they muck rake or look down the back of the sofa for extra money. And whereas in the past what seemed to happen was you would only be asked or contacted about previous years if you'd done something naughty, now you seem to be liable to be contacted and asked for further evidence, or even just the same evidence as past years, about, as you had supplied already about past years. Not because there's been a tip-off or anything, but just because they've decided what the heck, we'll have a look. Now they've done this for a couple of years now. So basically about every, well, it was every so often, but now it's every year, they'll come to you and ask you about the past 2 or 3 years. So I've got the council tax people asking me about that just now. I've got the tax credits people asking me about that, or dealing with it at least, so you know they don't have to ask me separately because we're already in discussions. And the Student Loans Company, they're asking about the past few years. Now, I think they have a mechanism to make it easier for them to do this, but I don't think necessarily the mechanism, that is, they've got access to the taxman's data, Inland Revenue, HMRC, Her Majesty's Revenues and Customs. I think the Student Loans Company, and I know the council tax departments, have access to HMRC data. I don't know if that makes them more likely to rake over the muck of the past few years, but I think it makes it easier, which probably does make it more likely. Anyway, I'll just point out the logical thoughts I have on this. For example, the council tax. They're writing saying, more or less, we are verifying that the past few years were properly administered. Please supply information about your income and blah blah blah. Now my immediate reaction is, why? My second reaction, having thought about it, is what I should do is say to the council, can you please supply me all the records I originally gave you? Then I'll photocopy them and I'll send them straight back by return post. Then you'll have precisely what you had before and you won't reach a different answer. Now that's such an obvious thing for me to do, and it's so obvious that they're going to say, get lost. We don't keep those records. That makes me think, logically speaking, what they are actually trying to do and how they actually are in practice going to make money out of this, the council tax for example. They're going to catch people out who don't have good records. My problem is I keep too many records. You know, my record keeping, it consists mainly of, not that I don't have it, it's raking through stuff to find it. But other people won't keep it. I'm absolutely certain other people won't keep it. Just did it once, threw it away in some tidy out they had, and then 3 years later, or even up to 6 or 7 years later in the tax, when it comes to tax, they're asked for those same records in effect. Now, what I believe is happening is these agencies of government, local government, central government, are actually hoping or expecting a percentage of people will fail to have kept a copy of what the council got sent, or the student loans company got sent, or the HMRC got sent. Those people who are unable to produce the identical information are absolutely bound to result in having a different answer. And that's what they would call a win, these agencies. If you don't have exactly the same information as you gave them, they're going to come up with a different answer. I'll say more than that. I bet you, even if you produce the same information, they could come up with a different answer. So you want to have identical information so you've actually got a basis to argue the answer should be no different. Because all that can happen here, the best result that an individual can hope for, is that there's no change. So you don't have to go and pay any more. You don't get a refund or anything, but you don't have to pay any more. But the council tax people, the HMRC, the Student Loans Company Limited, they are all hoping that your record keeping will be crap. In which case, they've got you. And they will inevitably come up with a different answer. Now, I've accused the council of this before, of basically going down the back of the corporate sofa and trying to find a few coins. And that's what this is. But it's happened a couple of times now. So here's the problem. Now I say this. They have done it before and they know roughly how much money they got the last time by raking over previous years. I say they will now have a target. Now that makes it 10 times more likely they're going to rake over previous years, which explains why it's now done as a regular thing. They will have a target of, say, 7%, 10%, 12%, be something like that. Something worth them doing the exercise. You notice the time of year when it comes. It's the summer, autumn. That's before the big kick out happens when they need to get everybody sorted, like in council tax, at the end of the council tax year in the spring. So basically, dare I say it, they've got idle time and they're going to try and use it to rake up some money. This is pretty scurrilous. So HMRC, Council Tax Department and Student Loans Company Limited, if they're contacting you in muck-raking, it's not because they know anything different, it's not because they can get you on something, it's just that in actual practice they're fairly sure a percentage of people won't have kept the same records, and they have a target now because they got X amount of percent last year compared to the total amount of money in. They say, oh, we'll aim for the same this year or a couple of percent more. And that in effect means it's a standard exercise now. The muck-raking, the revising previous years, and it's all based on poor individuals just not being able to lay their hands on the records. Best thing to do is contact the agency involved and say, look, you supply me with the records I supplied you, thanks very much, photocopy them, there you go. That's the only way to make sure that you won't be caught out. I've got to go up in the loft now and hack out records from who knows how long ago in order to shut them all up. But I will make sure I hand the identical records that I gave them in the first place. Thanks for watching and listening.